Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Jay. I'm one of the audio engineers here at Highlands, and today we're going to take a look at the Wave C6. C6 is kind of one of those plugins that scares everybody just a little bit because it looks really crazy, but truthfully, it's not really all that complicated, and we're going to see if we can't break it down to feel a little simpler today, and maybe show you a way or two that you could use it to help you out. So let's cut here to Pro Tools. I'm just using Pro Tools because I can run plugins very simply and show you things without having to run a console, but everything I do in here is going to work the same way on your console. So I'm going to go over in Pro Tools and I'm going to drop in a C6. So this is going to be the same thing as you dropping one in on your console. So when you drop it in, it usually defaults to something, and we're going to see what that is in a second. So let's drop it in. So in your console, you would have just clicked C6 and it would have dropped into a rack. And this is what this one defaulted to. And truthfully, there are a lot of great presets in the C6 preset menu from Waves, and I encourage you to check them out. They're sorted by category, same buttons on the Venue console. When you hit load here and look through, there's categories, and you can try all the different things in here. And some of them are pretty great. They're great starting points. But I think from what I understand, a lot of people kind of want to understand this plugin a little bit more and feel a little more empowered to take some of the controls into your own hands and really get your head wrapped around this thing. So we're going to give that a shot. So let's talk about what we're looking at here. The C6, that 6 is in there for a reason. It means 6 compressors. There's 6 compressors in this plugin, and I think the C stands for compressor if I'm not mistaken. That's just a guess. But those 6 compressors are laid out like this. So in the software, we have the first compressor, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. The outer 2 compressors, we're gonna come back to those. So just kind of ignore those for the time being. The purpose of a C6 is to give you all these compressors and then let you manipulate certain frequency ranges with each of those compressors. It's just the same thing a bunch of times. So we're going to focus on these 4 in the middle here to begin with. So this first compressor here is right here on the screen right now. It's represented here. We have a little divider that lets us differentiate between this band and the next band. So this band here at the moment is this compressor. And then we can change what that band looks like by moving this divider. We just click it and move it. Same way on the Venue console. So we get to decide what each of these frequency bands is listening to. All right. So what I usually like to do, I'll listen to my source, and in a rehearsal or offline when I can, I will actually use the solo buttons on each of the compressor bands. Now, a word of warning, these are live solos. If you press one of these solos in the middle of a service, it is going to come through the PA that way. So be very careful with these solos. They're not like the yellow button on the console. They don't just go to your headphones. Don't make that mistake. I have made that mistake personally. So here we go. Let's see what our content is that we're going to be listening to. The content is actually some recordings from another one of these tutorial videos. It was one done by Michael French, and so I'm sorry, Michael, but I'm using your voice for this lesson. So let's listen to what he was talking about.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band.
I think he was doing a tutorial on how to navigate your way through flow
course,
moments in services.
I'm looking for the campus pastor.
But this is a great example for us for using the C6 because it sounds pretty good, but it could use a little polishing. All right, and so we're not going to dive in head first on the C6 and just start turning all kinds of knobs. We're going to go one little piece at a time. And so that's what I want you to do when you start learning how to use the C6 too. So first things first, on the C6, I'm not going to use what it gave me to start with. I'm going to completely reset it to doing nothing. That's a great starting point for learning how to use this thing. So I'm going to hit load, and there's a preset called C6 Full Reset. That's what I want you to click. Same thing on the Venue consoles. And it basically makes it to where this C6 is doing nothing. All right, So remember I told you about these other two compressor bands? They're the same thing as the middle four, except they're not bound by a divider or anything like that. They're just a free-floating compressor that you can move anywhere in the whole frequency spectrum. They just give you two of them. They're just extras. If I move them, you can see it moving across the whole spectrum. So that's why I like to kind of just get them out of the way for a minute, and I'll come back to them if I end up needing them. But usually I just go ahead and say, I'll come to those when I need them. So first off, let's just bypass everything. Let's bypass all the compressors. And let's actually listen to our audio and see what we need to do first.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing.
I'm going to put my other ear in too, so I can hear
just
better.
like I would in a service. And I know that it's the last chorus, and I'm looking for the.
So it sounds a little mid-heavy to me. Not necessarily mid-heavy. That's just the only thing that's really there prevalently. The high end and the low end are kind of lost. So let's start by focusing our different C6 bands on the frequency areas that we want them to work with. So I'm going to have a low band, mid band, high mid, and then a high band. So let's listen and let's check those out.
So in this,
there's the low end.
just like I
There's
would
the
in a
mid.
service.
So that mid is a little too wide right now. We need to constrict it. We need to really make that band actually just be the mids and no more. So we're going to use these divider walls to make that happen.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band, just like I would in a service. And I know that it's the last chorus, and I'm looking for the canvas.
All right, I'm going to adjust the lower side.
There's the canvas passer. He just walked on the stage. And you see me, I reached up and I hit, and I muted the effect. So a couple things I'm going to do in this moment.
All right, I'd say we got that one about where it needs to be. It's just, so this compressor now is nothing but those mids. And let's work on those mids a little bit. Let's just listen.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band.
Let's try compressing them a little bit, but it's gonna just compress those mids. So another function on the C6 that looks a little different than any other compressor, don't let it scare you. It's a simple function. It's called range. So the range on each of those compressor bands basically just lets you decide, all right, when this compressor is compressing, how far do I want it to compress? Do I want it to compress till the sound is gone? Or do I just want it to barely compress a little bit? And so let's just start off with the arbitrary number. Let's throw in 10 dB for the range. So let's turn the range down 10 dB. All right, 10 dB-ish. Okay, we're there. So let's play again. And this time around, I'm going to adjust the threshold until that band starts to get compressed a little bit. And you'll see it and hear it. So here we go.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band, just like I would in a service. And I know that it's the last chorus, and I'm looking for the
All right. I'm not getting crazy with it. Just a little bit of compression. And it is working within the range that I told it could work. So let's listen without the C6.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band.
With the C6.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band.
Okay, so you hear it. May or may not be the right move, but you can hear what it's doing. All right, so one of the other things that I'm noticing here is that I wish that had a little more low end. And so I don't necessarily want to bump low end on an EQ, because I don't want all that low end boosted all the time. That's going to just make it to where, you know, say that mic were to start to feed back on the house, where that low end boost is helping it feedback. So let's say that I only want to have a low end bump when he's talking. Well, that's where the C6 comes in, because it's only going to make a change when a threshold is triggered, rather than all the time like an EQ. So we've only got one band doing something right now. Let's open up another band and let's see what happens. So I'm going to
So in this moment, I'm just
unbypass my low band,
just like I would in a service. And I know.
So I was just about to say, you know, I would turn the gain up, but I think I'm going to do it another way. So that range that we were talking about earlier on the mid band, we turned the range down 10 dB. Well, here's a little fun part about the C6. That range doesn't only go down. That range can go up, which means when that particular compressor band's threshold gets hit, instead of the audio going down, it can come up. So what we're going to do, we're going to use this low band to make a bump when needed. So let's turn our range up an arbitrary number, 10 dB. Seems to be a good average starting place. Let's turn it up just like we turned the other one down. I'm going to hit play. I'm going to adjust the threshold. And what you're going to hear is that when Michael's talking, and only when he's talking, that low energy is going to get bumped a little bit. So let's hit play. Let's play with this.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band just like I would in a service. And I know that it's the last chorus, and I'm looking for the campus pastor. There's the campus pastor. He just walked on the stage.
All right, so there it is. It's feeling better. You can hear that. I almost want a little more. So you know what? I'm just going to throw in an extra 2 dB of range, because what's happening is that the range it's going all the way, and it's still not enough. So I'm going to say, hey, you can go 2 more dB. So let's turn it up to 12 on the expander. Let's hit play again.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band.
A little too much. I'm just going to back
like
that threshold off a little bit.
And I know that it's the last chorus, and I'm looking for the campus pastor.
Something like that. Okay, so let's just check out what we've done so far. Let's listen to this without the C6.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band just like I would in a service.
All right, with.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band just like I would in a service.
All right, so we've kind of pushed it in a certain direction a little bit. We've taken just a little bit of the canny kind of mid resonance out, and we've added a little bit of bottom back to things. So let's add in another band. I want to bring up a little bit of the presence of what Michael is saying. I want to add a little crispness to his voice. And so I'm going to use the fourth compressor band for this. And not fourth like the number 4 on the screen here. I actually mean number 4 as in like the 4 center compressors that are divided by dividers. So let's focus it on the appropriate frequency range first, because I don't think we've adjusted that one yet. So let's hit play. I'm going to solo that band, and we're going to set that range properly. So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band just like I would in a service. And I know that it's the last chorus, and I'm looking for the campus pastor. All right, so you couldn't hear very much because there wasn't much there. But basically, I wanted to set that divider to where those top 2 bands of compression have become the band of like clarity and presence. And then the third band has become kind of my bitey, nasally range. Because those are 2 different ranges, all right? Those are 2 different distinct things that we need to deal with differently. So let's hit play again. And I'm going to give this top band the same treatment that we gave our low band. I'm going to give it some upwards expansion. I'm going to set the threshold until it starts to use it. So let's check that out. I need to unbypass it. Let's hit play. Let's turn our range up.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band.
And let's adjust the threshold.
Just like I would
Here we
in
go.
a service. And I know that it's the last chorus, and I'm looking for the campus pastor. There's the campus pastor. He just walked on the stage. And you see me, I reached up and I hit and I muted the effects. So a couple things I'm going to do in this moment. I'm going to reach up and mute the effects.
Okay, so that's feeling pretty good. Now what we've done, we've accomplished changing the tone of his voice, and we've never even touched an EQ, which means we're not getting really close to feedback because we don't have this high end that's open all the time. It's just there when it needs it, when his voice triggers it. So when his voice goes away, he stops talking, that boost isn't there anymore, which is great. So let's play this without the C6.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band.
With the C6.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band.
All right, and you see what a difference this is making already. So just for the sake of playing with this a little more, we're going to mess with this third band here, the one that we haven't touched yet, for the bitey kind of stuff. And to show you a little bit of another way you could use this thing, you can sort of use it as an EQ if you want, because there are not only dynamic options for each of these bands, there's just a gain. So you can turn a band up or down overall if you want. So let's try that on this third band here. I'm going to unbypass it. I'm going to play, and I'm going to just grab the gain and bring it up and down, and you'll see what that does.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band just like I would in a service. And I know that it's the last chorus, and I'm looking for the campus pastor.
All right. So I had no range, no threshold, nothing going on that band, and I can just turn it up and down like an EQ if I want to. So that's another way you can use this. So I think we're pretty much half of the way there. One final thing I'm going to get you to mess around with a little bit is there's a Q function right here, and this Q, kind of like an EQ, your Q adjusts the width of an EQ band that you're working on. Well, this Q in this function adjusts the width of the transition between our different divided frequency ranges, whether you want it to be a really wide transition or a harsh transition between the frequency bands. And so what I found is that one extreme of the Q makes everything sound more natural, a little less processed, and the other extreme makes everything sound very processed. And you may want one of these options or one of these outcomes for various reasons. So I'm going to show you this effect. So let's play, and I'll start by turning the Q one way, and I'll turn it the other way. So see if you can hear the difference.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band.
So you see visually,
just like I would in a service.
These curves, these transitions have got
the
wide.
last course, and I'm looking for the campus pastor. There's the campus pastor.
Let's
He
go
just
tight
walked
with
on the
him.
stage, and you see me. I reached up and I hit, and I muted the effects. So a couple things I'm going to do in this moment. I'm going to reach up and mute the effects. I'm also going to pull the vocal VCA back. When the campus pastor comes on the
So
stage.
I hope you heard that. I know I could. The default value is 0.6, and honestly, it sounds pretty good. So really, you could leave that and not ever even know it was there and be okay. But I wanted to show it to you so you could get an idea of what it does when you mess with it. The last two bands that we haven't messed with yet are just like, they behave the same way as the ones we've been using. And I think I can best show you the way they show themselves on this chart by enabling one and moving it around a little bit. So let's unbypass one. Let's kind of move it into play a little bit here. Let's grab the frequency knob and move it. And let me just bump the gain a little bit so you can see it. So it's more of a band less of a range. So as I move it around, kind of just looks like a regular EQ band, right? Well, it's still a compressor. I can adjust the Q on it, wide, narrow. I can find an ugly spot in a sound I'm trying to get rid of. I can either use it like an EQ, or I can use it dynamically, like set some range or something, play with my threshold. Let's try this out. So let's play Michael's voice again.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing
Bypass that
the
for a
band,
second.
just like I would in a service.
So let's pretend there's this crazy resonance on Michael. We're going to find it, and we're going to use this tiny band to get rid of it.
So in this moment,
So I'm going to gain up a little bit and hunt for it, kind of like I would with an EQ.
Just like I would in a service. And I know that it's the last chorus, and I'm looking for the campus pastor. There's the campus pastor. He just walked on the stage, and you see me. I reached up and I hit, and I muted the effects. So a couple things I'm going to do in this moment.
So I don't know if you can hear that.
I'm going to reach
Slightly
up and mute
unpleasant.
the effects. I'm also going to pull.
Let's take the gain back to
VCA
0,
back.
and let's treat it dynamically. So I'm going to set my range down to, -10, about what we've been doing. I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to mess with the threshold a little bit and see if I hear that go away a little bit. Now, this is really subtle. Honestly, I'm questioning whether I can hear it or not, but for the sake of messing with something, let's give it a shot.
So in this moment, I'm just mixing the band, just like I would in a service. And I know
mess with
that
the
it's
Q.
the last chorus, and I'm looking for the campus pastor.
Super
There's
tight.
the campus pastor. He just walked on the
You
stage.
can widen it up a little bit.
And you see me. I reached up and I hit, and I muted the effects. So a couple things I'm going to do in this.
So very quickly, this C6 starts to look pretty crazy. And this, I think, is the part that intimidates a lot of people and makes a lot of people a little worried that, oh, man, I'm not going to be able to understand this thing. Well, I hope this video has shown you that this is actually a pretty simple tool. It's just a bunch of the same thing over and over and over and over. So go out there and give this thing a shot. Try some of the presets out, or if you're brave enough, try doing a full reset. And then starting from scratch, one band at a time, messing with things, see if you can make the C6 work for you. And if it's messing you up, just turn it off, But I encourage you to play with this during rehearsals and when you have the time, because it is a very powerful tool that can help you out a lot. So I hope you guys got something from this. If you have any questions, hit us up if you see us at your campus, or if you see us on a Thursday night at Infuse or something like that. Email us, audio@churchofthehighlands.com. Anyways, talk to you guys on another video. See you later.